Jai Shri Radhe. Sab Vaishnav ko Jai Shri Krishna. The reading of the Doso Bhavan Vaishnavan ki Varta, the story of the 252 Vaishnav disciples of Sri Gosaiji in English. The story of Naga Bhatt, which is Varta number 1 of 252. This is day 5 of the readings, and we are at Varta Prasang Char, part 4 of the Varta number 1. One time, Nagji was travelling from Godara towards Adel in order to have the holy sight of Sri Gosaiji. He arrived in Sriji Dwar. There he went to have the holy sight of the Lord. He greeted Ramdas and the other temple servants with the Lord's name. Ramdasji told him that most of the temple servants had come down with a fever and that very few of them were able to serve. He asked Nagji to serve Sri Govardhan Naji for some days. Nagji bathed and went into the Seva. He stayed in service there for some days. Then he wrote a letter of supplication to Sri Gosaiji, which contained this verse: Sarasi kusho shayam apyaswaditum agacho lino marge yadi kanaka kamalapane nasito saha kim anyena. The meaning of this is, Bhav Prakash, having assumed the form of a bee, I was coming to taste the nectar of the lotus growing in water. On the way I met a lotus made of gold, and I am now ensnared within it. However, the taste of the water lotus is not here. Here, Nagji has referred to Sri Gosaiji as a lotus growing in water, because in the same way that a water lotus is full of fragrance, Sri Gosaiji is replete with the fragrant nectar of all the Lord's pastimes. Sri Gosaiji blesses Nagaji to witness these. For Nagji, Sri Gosaiji is the lotus growing in water, and Sri Naji is the golden lotus. He may be full of the nectar of all divine pastimes, but without Sri Gosaiji's grace, Nagji would not be able to experience them. So for Nagji, Sri Naji was the golden lotus. Part 4 continued. This verse he wrote in his letter. When it arrived, Sri Gosaiji read it. He then wrote a reply and sent it to Nagji. Sri Gosaiji wrote 2 shlokas. Natra kushayam ana samarthaye yati prayo madhupaha. Tasmin stute tosha dushte tau sthyam hi nirupana snehat. Yadyalera pini rupad hi bhavaha swabhavataha samagachet niravaditosh sosyatrapi bhaved eti kim vacham. Bhav Prakash. This meaning of the shlokas is that the golden lotus is the foundation of everything, but can only be tasted by those who are fully connected in love to Sri Naji. Therefore, connect in full loving mood with Sri Naji and serve him, then you will gain the experience of that taste. This is one interpretation. The second is, oh, dear bee, you are ensnared in the golden lotus, but excessive loving nectar will come to you from proximity in the water lotus. Part 4 continued. These are the 2 verses that Sri Gosaiji sent to Nagji in Sri Natadwara. The post officer delivered it to Nagji. When Nagji read it, he became impatient for the sight of Sri Gosaiji. At that very time, 2 or 3 temple servants recovered from their fever and were able to bathe and re-enter the Seva. Nagji then told Ramdas that he was now leaving to go to Sri Gosaiji's side because it had been such a long time since he had seen him. Ramdasji said, "As you wish. If you stay here, you can serve Sri Govardhan Naji. If you go there, you will be able to serve Sri Gosaiji. You may gain equal joy from either place." Hearing these words, Nagji took his leave from Sri Govardhan Naji, Ramdas and all the other temple workers and left for Adel. There he saw Sri Gosaiji. Sri Gosaiji was very happy to see Nagji, and in this way, Nagji was the recipient of great grace from Sri Gosaiji. Part 5. Nagji once wrote a request to Sri Gosaiji in a letter. O Maharaj, Sri Acharyaji has written many books, like the Sri Subodhini and the Nibandha, and you have also written many esoteric treatises like your Tippani, etc. However, I am of little intelligence. Please write a few lines to explain the essence of the path. This would be great grace on your part." The letter reached Sri Gosaiji in Gokul. He read it and replied to it in 2 verses, which fully contained the explanation of Sri Acharyaji's path of grace, as well as the rewards and the inner meaning of the path. Shri Vallabhacharyam mate phalam tat prakritaya matra vyabhichari hetuhu tatropayukta navadokta bhakti astatro payogo kilasad and nam kilasadhananam. Please excuse me. These are the 2 shlokas explaining the essence and the reward of the path of grace that Sri Gosaiji wrote for Nagaji. Yaha kuryat sundarakshina bhavane lasyanarthane tasam bhavanaya nityam sahi sarva phalanubhag. That was the 2nd verse. The meaning of them is, in the path of grace, Sri Vallabhacharyaji, the full reward is the manifestation of the Lord. This is earned by chaste and faithful devotion. Those who cherish total loyalty have attained the 9 stages of devotion. In the original format of this 9-fold devotion, the 9 types have been demonstrated by 9 souls in 9 stages. The scriptures have described this, but the speciality of Sri Acharyaji's path is that he revealed and taught that there is one further stage called Prema Lakshana Bhakti, the devotion where only love is the presiding quality. Sri Gosaiji is explaining this aspect here. The 9-fold path of devotion can still be interpreted by the Lord's deluding potency, but only love pervades every aspect of this 10-stage way, and therefore it is superior. Herein, then, Sri Gosaiji sent Nagji the inner meaning of loving devotion. He wrote, "In the homes of those Vraja ladies with beautiful eyes, the Lord enjoys dance and other loving exchanges with them. A devotee should always keep the emulation of their loving sentiments in their heart. From this alone comes the experience of the true reward of the path." When Nagji read this, he was overjoyed. Bhav Prakash. Sri Acharyaji had explained such deeply esoteric matters to Damodar Das Harsani. Here it was to Nagji Bhatt that Sri Gosaiji explained such secret subjects. Through this letter, the essence and the reward of the path became clear to Nagji. These 2 slokas are replete with very deep teachings, therefore they were not made public. Part 6. Once Sri Gosaiji went to Dwarka. Nagji loaded a camel with mangoes and went to Dwarka to be with him. When he saw the mangoes, Sri Gosaiji said to Nagaji, "O Nagaji, I cannot accept these mangoes." Hearing these words, Nagaji left the mangoes there and straightway went to Godara. There he loaded 2 camels with mangoes and arrived at Srinatadwara in 7 days. He gave the mangoes from 1 camel to Ramdasji, the head priest, and got a receipt for them. Then he took the other camel to Gokul and gave the mangoes to Sri Gurudarji. He prostrated to him, took a receipt, and left immediately. He returned to Godara, loaded up another camel with mangoes, and left for Dwarka. Sri Gosaiji was returning to Gokul from Dwarka at that time. They met on the way. Nagji bowed low to Sri Gosaiji and placed the mangoes before him and presented the 2 receipts to him. When he saw these, Sri Gosaiji was very pleased. When Sri Gosaiji was preparing the offerings, he also offered these mangoes. When his lord accepted the mangoes, Sri Gosaiji was very content and began to praise them. Nagji was also very happy. In this way, Nagji was always attached to his loving service to Sri Gosaiji's lotus feet. From the very day that Sri Gosaiji gave Nagaji the name initiation, by Sri Gosaiji's grace, Nagaji's mind never wavered. During this period, Sri Gosaiji travelled 6 times to Dwarka, and each time he stayed with Nagji in his home. Bhav Prakash. Sri Gosaiji has a betak, or sitting place, in Godara, and it is in Nagji's house. Once, Sri Gokulnathji travelled to Dwarka. On the way, he passed through Godara village. Arriving there, Sri Gokulnathji asked the village people to show him the way to Nagji's house. No one from Nagji's descendant family was in the village, and Nagji's house was in a state of disrepair. But the villagers showed Sri Gokulnathji where it was. He went there and cleaned up the place. After putting up a partition, he cooked and made offerings there. After this, when Sri Ganashyamji travelled to Dwarka, he also came to Nagji's house, cleaned up his father's sitting place and made offerings there. Nagji Bhatt was thus an accomplished Vaishnava and the recipient of Sri Gosainji's grace. Thus concludes Varta 1, the story of Nagji Bhatt, although there is no end to his tale. Aaj ke Anand ki jai, Shri Vallabhadish ki jai, Shri Gosainji ki jai, Shri Govardhan Nathji ki jai. So we conclude here the end of Nagaji's Varta number 1 of the 252, and we'll continue tomorrow on the 6th reading. Jai Shri Radhe Ji.